Hello BookTube. Today I will be sharing with you my October TBR. With this bookcase, on top of this bookcase, I've managed to make two areas. This area here is my new acquisitions area, and then here is my TBR. Now, because of how many books I have on my TBR, I'm going to do the books in out of order. So the last book I aim to read in October is The Devil Rides Out by Dennis Wheatley. It is in this omnibus collection that includes To the Devil a Daughter and Gateway to Hell. The Devil Rides Out is the story of three friends trying to rescue one of their friends who's fallen in with a black magic coven, and they try to rescue him and prevent the evil sorcerer who leads the coven from destroying the world. There's a movie made in the late 60s starring Christopher Lee and Charles Gray called The Devil's Bride, and The Devil Rides Out, depending whether you're in America or in the US at the time, that regularly airs on TCM during the month of October. And I'm actually going to check and see if it's airing this year, because I do love the movie. I've watched the movie 3 or 4 times. It is fantastic, and arguably better than the book. But I've read the book once, and I've wanted to reread it a few times since then. So I'm taking this year as an opportunity to finally reread it. I will also be reading Cameron Johnson's God of Broken Things, the sequel to his novel The Traitor God, which was fantastic. An outcast magician must risk his body and mind to save the world from horrifying demons, in the heart-pounding grimdark fantasy sequel to The Traitor God. Tyrant Magus Edrin Walker destroyed the monster sent by the Skullgrim's inhuman masters, but not before it laid waste to Sitharis and infested their magical elite with mind-controlling parasites. Walker's own gift to seize the minds of others was cracked by the strain of battling an insane god. Broken and bone-weary, he barely survives the interrogation of a captured Magus under their control. There's no time for recovery, though. A Skullgrim army is marching on the mountain passes of the Clanholes. Walker and a coterie of conscripted villains race to stop them. But the mountains are filled with ancient gods, demons, magic, and his own hideous past. Walker must stop at nothing to win, even if that means losing his mind or worse. Can't wait. I will also be finally getting around to reading Jane Finn's Hidden Sun. An eccentric noblewoman scientist's journey into a strange new land will change her and her world forever. Rhea Harlan is a noble of Shin, one of the dozens of Shadowlands dotted safely amongst the scorching and alien skyline between. She has a missing brother, an unwanted marriage proposal, and a deep interest in science, considered unbecoming in her gender. Her brother's disappearance coincided with a violent, unsolved murder. On an impulse, Rhea joins the search party headed into the Skyland, a wilderness whose dangers and wonders have long enthralled her. The perilous journey brings her into conflict with a young rebel stuck between the worlds of shadow and light, and a charismatic cult leader who believes he can defeat death itself. None of their worlds will ever be the same again. Next up is a book you saw in my first video, The Black Khan by Osama Zahanet Khan. This is the sequel to The Bloodprint and the second volume in the Khorasan archive. To fight against the cruel patriarchy of the Talisman, members of the resistance group known as the Companions of Hera have risked their lives in a failed attempt to procure the Bloodprint, a dangerous text that may hold the secret to overthrowing the terrifying regime. Now, with their plans in ashes, the Companions of Hera have scattered, and the two brave women at the center of the plot, Arian and Sania, face unprecedented danger. Yet a spark of hope flickers in the darkness. The Bloodprint has survived. It is hidden in Ashfall, the seat of the Black Khan, whose court is ruled by intrigue and conspiracy, treacherous enemies, including the autocratic Grand Vizier, the deadly and secretive assassin, the Black Khan's deposed half-brother, and the commander of Ashfall's army, who is also the Khan's oldest friend, ruthlessly maneuver for power behind the throne. The Companions of Hera must somehow reunite, break through Talisman lines, and infiltrate Ashfall. A master of treachery himself, the Black Khan joins forces with these powerful women to manipulate them for his own ends. But as Ashfall comes under siege, he is forced to make a deadly calculation, one that could cause irrevocable damage to the Companions in their fight for freedom. Sounds exciting. Can't wait to get to this. And we have Seanan McGuire's Middle Game. Meet Roger. Skilled with words, languages come easily to him. He instinctively understands how the world works through the power of story. Meet Dodger, his twin. Numbers are her world, her obsession, her everything. All she understands. She does so through the power of math. Roger and Dodger aren't exactly human, though. They don't realize it. They aren't exactly gods either. Not entirely, not yet. Meet Reed, skilled in the alchemical arts like his progenitor before him. Reed created Dodger and her brother. He's not their father, not quite, but he has a plan to raise the twins to the highest power, to ascend with them and claim their authority as his own. Godhood is attainable. Pray it is attained. Sounds fantastic. So, I am quite looking forward to reading this. Okay, and then I'm also planning on reading The Ragged Blade by Christopher Ruz. As a young mercenary, Richard followed a mysterious magician on a quest to steal a treasure from a demon and overthrow a king. The two men started their journey as strangers, became lovers along the way, and ended as a master and loyal soldier. 20 years later, that kingdom is steadily falling into ruin, and Richard has realized that time and power have twisted the magician into more monster than man. Children disappear nightly into his dungeons, and the only things that leave are terrible creatures crafted in the shadows. To save his own daughter, Richard flees into the desert waste, where magic boils beneath the sand and monsters walk the dunes in the shape of men. He will return to the burning heart of the desert and restore the demon's treasure, or die in the trying. What Richard doesn't know is that Anna is the key to the magician's plans, and he and his favorite monster will lay waste to the world to get her back. Sounds interesting. Could also be problematic, but we shall see. I've been looking forward to that one for a while. Next we have Magic for Liars by Sarah Gailey. Everyone has a secret. What are you hiding? A sharp new take on California noir, Magic for Liars follows the twists and turns of a complicated woman's investigation at a hidden school of witchcraft and wizardry. Ivy has an almost sustainable career as a private investigator, an empty apartment in the rapidly gentrifying Bay Area, and a slight drinking problem. She doesn't in any way wish she were like Tabitha, her estranged, magically gifted twin sister. But when Ivy's skills are required to solve a gruesome murder at Osthorne Academy for Young Mages, everything she has ever believed will be called into question. There are enough suspects to keep her busy, but the investigation into the hidden magical world will increasingly center the suspicions Ivy has buried about her own past and present life. In the manner of the magicians and the secret history, Magic for Liars is a haunting story of identity and entanglement set against the backdrop of a magical academy. Sounds very interesting. Although the reference to the secret history does give one pause. The Ingenious by Darius Hinks. Thousands of years ago, the city of Athenor was set adrift in time and space by alchemists, the curious men. Ever since, wherever it has manifested around this world, it has accumulated cultures, citizens, and species, growing into a vast, unmappable metropolis. Istin and her gang of half-starved political exiles are scraping a living from petty crime and gangland warfare in Athenor's tedious alleys. Though they dream of returning home to lead a glorious revolution, Istin's downward spiral is dragging them into a mire of addiction and violence. Istin must find a way to save both the exiles and herself if they are ever to build a better, fairer life for the people of their distant homeland. Sounds very interesting. Now we're going to go to an older book, Red Moon and Black Mountain by Joy Chant. Night of dark sorceries. A shadow had fallen across the starlit land of Kedrith. Vindorl, renegade, sorcerer of Black Mountain, challenged the Starboard for rule of all Vendre. When the red moon rose, the powers of the Dark Lord would reign. Then fate brought 3 young people to rescue the stricken land. One to wake the powers of the star magic, one to rouse the peoples of the Vendere to battle, and one to fulfill an ancient prophecy, to become the chosen one, champion of the Kintore Riders, to confront the powers of darkness under the evil red moon. Sounds very interesting. I've been meaning to get to this book for years, and I'm quite happy I'm finally taking the opportunity. And finally, we have 2 Victorian novels. Wilkie Collins' The Moonstone, about a country house hosting, it's basically about a young girl being bequeathed the moonstone and ending up having it stolen by various people. So it's classic of detective fiction, and I've read it a few times and I've loved it every time, so I'm happy to reread it. And finally, and probably the first book I read this month will be King Solomon's Mines by H. Rider Haggard. King Solomon's Mines is about a group of Englishmen hiring a famous hunter to search for one of the party's missing brother. And on the journey there, they discover a hidden world in which the story of okay, so let me try that again. So King Solomon's Mines is about two Englishmen, Henry Good and his friend, Sir Henry Curtis and Captain Good. It's been a while since I've read it. Employing the hunter Alan Quatermain to guide them as they search for Sir Henry's brother, who has gone missing in search of King Solomon's mines, with the idea to make his fortune from the mines. And on the journey to find him, they come across a heretofore unknown civilization guarding the eponymous mines of Solomon. I read it a few times. It's been probably about 10 years since I've last read it, and I think it's time I give it a reread. And since this is kind of sort of Victober, or it is Victober, and I kind of sort of want to participate somewhat. So that's my TBR for October. We shall see if how many of these I actually managed to read. Thank you, BookTube.